Hey everyone, it's Jaden Daniels here. Today I want to talk to you about something that's dear to me and just put it out there. So, first of all, a lot of you know I'm in Hill, and the Hill story is something I resonated with. The CEO of Hill, Stephen Munson, was a drug addict for 16 years. Now he's clean and sober, and he has God in his life. Well, that kind of resonated with me, and I'll explain why. And I met my wife, and we've been together over 15 years now. She has 4 kids and 3 more triplets, 2 girls and a boy, and then an older daughter. And I want to talk about one of the triplets. Her name is Kasie. Kasie had a great life growing up, and she got with her high school sweetheart. They had a baby, which didn't work out, but still, she went down a hard road. She got in a car accident, started with pain pills, and then pain pills led to harder drugs. And when I mean harder drugs, I mean heroin. She was shooting up heroin. And I don't know if you like me. In the past, I would see drug addicts walking down the road, and I'd be like, "Look at that, really," and put them down. Which I realize now I was wrong, because when you got somebody in your family that's going down that road, you realize how to have respect for those people that don't know how to get control. So let me just finish my story here. Kind of got on a tangent there. Um, Kasie was in and out of jail. Then she was facing prison time. And instead of going to prison, they offer her what's called drug court here. So she had to complete it. She had to go to all the classes. She had to do other things, but that's what she had to do to complete drug court and graduate and get the charge expunged off her record. Well, she was in drug court. And one day, after being in there a while, we get a phone call. Now, we live 90 miles away from where she was at. And we get the phone call, and the director of a drug court asked to see us, and my wife, we went. He wanted to know if Kasie can move in with us. He said, what we'll do is she'll have to go once a week. And I'm like, well, yeah, we can manage that. Get her here once a week. We're both working full-time jobs, but yeah, we'll figure something out and we'll manage it. It's 90 miles away. Well, once a week turned into twice a week, turned into 3 times a week, and I think there was a couple times that's 4 times a week. I'm not quite sure. It was so long ago now, not that long ago, but it was really frustrating. But most time it was around 3 times a week, and frustrating, really. We get there, I have to sit in the car and wait on her for 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours, sometimes a little bit longer, and turn around and drive home. Like I said, 90 miles away. And so we did that for quite some time. Finally, she was able to graduate. One of the happiest days of our lives at that time, I'm telling you. And she graduated. She got a job. We let her use her car. Told her as long as she stays clean and sober, she can use the car. And then she left here and moved in with her dad, and she got a job there, which is our hometown, and it's about 75 miles away. And she was doing good. And all of a sudden, for whatever reason, she started using it again. And this time, it scared us to death. We were here. There was one morning, I remember, my wife gets up. It's dark outside. She gets up to just go to the bathroom, and she sees car lights. She comes and wakes me up. She says, "A cop." I can't get to the door. That's how terrified we were, because we didn't know where Kasie was. We didn't know what she was doing. We heard from her every once in a while. She would call, and Mom would always say, "Make sure you take care of you." And, but Kasie, we never knew where she was. We didn't know if she was dead or alive a lot of times. We didn't know if we were going to get the knock on the door saying, we found your daughter's body. And there's nights that we sat on the couch and we cried and we talked about Kasie. We talked about the good times and, just we pray about it, just hoping that she'd come back to us one day. And I'm just a stepdad. I couldn't imagine what, her mom was going through. So we just prayed. And then we'll see her every once in a while. There was one time she came and she actually took her mama's tablet so she could go get high, sell it to get high. And I say that, do I put Kasie down? No, I'm not doing that. I just want you to understand this is what Kasie told me herself. It's not a life chasing a high. That's what all you do when you're a drug addict. You chase the next high. And Kasie was just losing weight. There was one night we got a call from a cop that had moved to this area, but he had actually went to school with Kasie, and he begged us to go pick her up. He found her in a drug house hiding under a sink, or in a cabinet. I don't know if it was under a sink, in a cabinet. And we told him to lock her up because we thought that might be the only thing that would save her. That go to jail, maybe that'll get her, scare her enough she want to get cleaned up. Now I know she's been in jail before, but at least we know she's getting some food. At least we know she's got a roof over her head, at least for a couple of nights. If she gets back out, maybe she'll decide to get clean. Well, that didn't happen. And months later, it's still going on, and we still don't know where she's at. She'll call every once in a while from a phone that we don't know, so we never call it back. And because she'll tell us, don't call this phone, please don't call this phone. So we know we didn't want any more trouble for her, with anybody, so we didn't call it. People would tell us that they seen her and that she looked bad. And only a couple of people knew who she was around here anyway. But then one day we get a phone call. Just fast forward, and I'm trying not to make this video way too long. Get a phone call. She's in the hospital. She wants to know if she can come home and go to rehab. But of course, we talk about it. And I tell my wife, it's up to you. In a way, I want her here, and in a way, I don't. I don't want her here and she be using. And it was, if I rewind just a little bit, it was one time we let her back in, just saying, yeah, you can come back home. And she started going out, she started dating, and all of a sudden, she just started not acting right. And then we asked her to take a drug test. She didn't want to take the drug test. And so we'd always told her, if you didn't take the drug test, then you're out of here. That's just point blank, you got to go. And, a lot of times I let my wife handle it because I didn't want to be ever come between my wife and her children, never. And don't get me wrong, I feel like they're all mine too, because I love them all. But it was some of the toughest things I've ever seen and ever been through. And that one night that she wouldn't take the drug test and we kicked her out, didn't know where she was going. That was really tough, not knowing where she's going to sleep that night, not knowing, but she knew that we couldn't let her stay here because like her mom always said, my wife, Christy, she said, I can't come in this bedroom and find you dead. I can't. I just can't, I can't do that. So if you're going to use, you got to get out. And Lord knows that night my wife cried so much, wondering if it was the right thing, wondering if it was the wrong thing. You just don't know. And as we're going through her stuff, we found a needle with heroin still in it. And, that broke her heart because we was hoping we was wrong. But we knew we weren't. But anyway, now let's go back to where we got the phone call. She was in the hospital, wanting to go to rehab. Well, we talked to somebody, and we found out about a rehab prior to her calling that praying one day because they found out that she was on drugs and said that maybe one day she'll want to go, and this is where you call. This rehab was basically free, I guess you would say. They would work off donations. It was a Christian rehab, and you pay $300, you get all of it back if they have no medical issues, except for $25. That's it. And of course, we had to come up with sheets and different things that she had to take. When she wanted to go, she comes home, gets out of the hospital. Then somebody that's getting to her came and visited, and that was like on a Tuesday, and then they visited that weekend and blah blah blah. And it might have been a week after that, and then it might have been 2 weeks. I'm not sure about the time, but it was on a weekend before she could get all the blood work and everything done to send to the rehab. And she started drinking Mike's lemonade. And I was like, you don't need to do that, and all I could think about, your resistance is going to be low. You're drinking that Mark's hard lemonade, and it's just going to get in your system. Your resistance is going to be really low. But 1 o'clock in the morning, she left walking. And how I know we were in the bed, but we have cameras. And so I watched her walk down the road, and we didn't hear from her for just a few days, actually. It wasn't that long, maybe a week at the most, but it seemed like it was the very next week that we get another phone call. She's in the hospital again. And she said this time she promises that she will go to rehab. Well, didn't know whether to believe her or not. But we let her come back home. And she's going through her DTs in the recliner. And she's just, just waiting to get a bed at the rehab. But one thing I have to say, this time was a little bit different. When we went to the hospital, she had already asked the doctors and the nurses and all if they could help her get the blood work done to send to the rehab. She did that herself. So the bed comes open earlier than expected. They had somebody that didn't show up, so she was able to go early. So we drive, it's about 3 hours away, to take her to rehab. And it's down this long dirt road in the middle of nowhere. I ain't no more with taking her, to tell you the truth. But then you get out there, and it's a beautiful place once you finally see the place and all. And it had a big yard, and I mean huge, probably a couple of acres. Excuse me. These girls at this place had to cut the grass, push more. They had all kinds of chores that they had to do. But of course, we couldn't see her for a couple of weeks, and no contact. Well, we get to go see her the first time, and she says, I don't know what I'm going to do. I mean, I just don't know what I'm going to do. I just don't know if I can handle all these holy rollers. Because all you could hear in there is people talking about God. This person talking about God, this person talking about, that's all you heard. And, it was like, yeah, this is a person that I don't know if she's going to be able to handle it or not. So we kept praying that she would. And, well, we kept sending her letters. We made sure we stayed in contact so she'll have something. I wrote her a letter at least 3 or 4 times a week. Yeah, maybe not 4, but like 3 times a week I tried to write her a letter. Sometimes it might have been just 2. But, it's like try to make sure that her spirits stay up and that she has contact with the outside world. She could only call on the weekends, and we couldn't go every weekend, but we did go a lot. And then we get a call, and I think it was on September 24th of that year, which has only been 3 years ago. She called and said she's been saved. I thought I was going to fall out my chair. I mean, the mama had her on speakerphone and she was saying it, and I'm like, what? You've been saved? You? Well, fast forward a little bit more. She graduates rehab. And we go. And she gets up on stage. She's at that podium, and she's up on stage and she's talking. And she told a story about when she was in that drug house the last time. For some reason, there was a Bible there. She said she hit her knees and she prayed to God, if there is a God up there, I'm praying, that if you'll just get me out this house one last time, I won't come back. Well, that's when she ended up in the hospital with pneumonia, the last time we picked her up. And boy, that just sent chills down my spine that when hearing that. She comes home. She starts putting in applications. And discouraged because she has a record, because she didn't know if anybody was going to hire her. And this guy in the subway hired her. She got hired. She was doing good. And then she was going to AA. She was going to church. And she met a guy in AA. And come to find out, he'd been down the same road she'd been down, similar to it anyway, with drugs. And he had found God. So they hit it off. And they kept talking on the phone, kept seeing each other at AA, and he would ride his bicycle miles and miles just to go see her at the subway. And he had him a job. He was living in a sober house. And, and I was like, right. And one day I was walking by her bedroom, and I could hear a lot of guys giggling and laughing. And so they were picking on him about talking about God, Kasie. So then my wife talked it over and said that if she wanted him to move in, because we could tell they were serious. They kept each other, on the up and up. And so he moved in. And prior to him moving in, this is one of the reasons why I knew that it was a good thing. We went to go see my mother-in-law for a birthday party, I think. Or it might have been something else. I can't even remember exactly why we were there. Might have been Christmas. I don't know. So, anyway, we're sitting there in their outdoor kitchen. Everybody's sitting around. We're having drinks. And Kasie just gets up and walks out. And I was wondering if she was going to be able to handle that. So I waited a little while, and I walk in to see where she was at. And she was on the phone, and I get to the door where she was at in the room that she was in, and I could hear her boyfriend, say, Kasie, do you really want to go down that road? Kasie, I can't remember exact words. Kasie, where's it going to end up? Where will you end up if you take that drink? You can't take just one drink. You got to think of the end picture or something. It was something like that he kept going on, and she didn't drink. And so that weekend went great. He moved in. I'm working outside in my building, and my wife's out there with me. And both of them come up and ask, how long do we get to live here? And I was like, why? We got to know why you're asking this. And she asked if she could get all her warrants and everything taken care of before she moves out. Wants to pay all the fines, wants to get everything on the up and up. And don't have to look over her shoulder anymore. And we just thought that was just wonderful. Here you are being responsible. And yes, get that done. We helped him, took him to the DMV so he can get his license back. He had a lot of hard time getting him back at one time, but I would take him to work. We would pick him up whenever we could, and we would take her to work. And sometimes we took her to work. We had to take her a couple of hours early because that was our schedule. We couldn't help her, and it was so far away. There was no way she could just get there. So, but that's there's no buses that really run around here or anything like that. So she had to get a ride. And so we made it happen. So she's got the job, and she gets her a car and got it paid off in no time. And she got it paid off actually after she moved out. And he got his truck, got it all fixed up, and he's working. And so now they moved out, got a condo, and he asked her to marry him. And as of this month, they've been together a year, been married a year. Not been together, but married a year. And, they go to church. They found a church that they really love. They, she always says, I got a godly man. He says, I got a godly wife. That's how they refer to each other on Facebook and things. And they put God first in everything they do. They He's got a better job than he had before. He's an electrician, and now he's got a great job. She's got a better job than she's ever had, and they really are living a great life now. I mean, and they close on their house next month. They're actually buying a house. And coming from chasing a high, and then they live where they're always high on life. That's the way they live now. And I know it was tough for her. I know it was tough for him, whatever he went through, because we don't know. We know a lot of his story, but probably not all. And he tells us some. He's open about it and lets us know different things. And she is too. She's always been open about it now. Some things we didn't want to hear, but it's great to know anyway. And we went through a lot, but we couldn't ask for a better outcome. We're so proud of them. And, you might have a son or daughter that's going through the same thing. And all I can say for you is just keep the faith, because, you never know. I know I've had some friends and acquaintances that lost their son and daughters, and I couldn't imagine, even though that's what we thought we were going to hear. But sometimes keeping the faith and just praying, it's all you can do, but it might be what you need to do and what is worth it. And if you see a drug addict walking down the street, offer him a burger. Go to Burger King, McDonald's, offer him a burger, offer him some food. And I know you don't want to give them money, because I wouldn't give them money, because I know that they're just chasing the next high, and that's what they're going to do with it. And I wouldn't even get them groceries from a grocery store, because all they're going to do is take it right back and get the money back and go get that high. But you can give them some food. I was just in a little convenience store here, and one of the girls that I see walking the streets all the time, she saw me looking at her, and all I was going to say to her was, "Do you want something to eat? I'll buy it for you." But I think she was about to steal something, and just realized I was watching, and she turned around and walked out. Well, I followed her, and she ran and hid. So I just left her alone, because I didn't want her to be scared, because all I was going to do is take her to Burger King and get her a burger. It was right down the road here. And I haven't seen her in a while. Usually I see her, once or twice a week at least, walking the streets. So I hope you understand that there's hope. I hope you understand that these drug addicts walk down the road, they steal somebody's daughter, sister, brother, mother, father, you don't know. And just when you see them, if you can't give them a burger or anything, pray for them. And, I'm not the most religious person in the world here, but I do know what Kasie went through and where she's at now. Only one way she could get there. That's all I really got, and that's why I resonated with Hill, and I hope and pray that everybody's safe. But anyway, that's all I have for you today, and until next time, I'm Jaden Daniels.